Thank you. Legion, by Lenovo.
Afternoon, everybody, and welcome to week 2 of the Chisholm Invitational. My name, once again, is Maximilian Thor von Neumann. You all can call me Formal Casting. Believe it or not, it hasn't changed in the past week. However, as you can see right now, a lot has changed over the past 7 days. However, you know, wherever you may be, whatever situation you might in, one thing that has been continued to remain supported and consistent has been the pursuit of trying to, I would say, I don't want to say normalize because I believe we've gotten to that stage, but to continue to promote and embrace the culture that is esports amongst high schools. And thus, joining me today is Hassan I'm going to get it wrong. I'm not going to get it wrong. I'm sorry. We're going to get it right. Hassan Bakedeli. He is the head of emerging technology and solution for Legion by Lenovo. And thank you very much for joining me here.
No problem at all, Max. Great to be here and super pumped for the matchup tonight, mate.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really fun one. We have one of the best players, arguably, in the entire tournament playing in this one. He goes by the alias KKKKKKK. So I think it's going to be a fun matchup for no other reason than that. But before we get into like this matchup right now, just the fact that we're able to even have this match, I think is something kind of special considering the global situation.
Yeah, no, definitely. Look at this as personally my second year being involved in the Chisholm Invitational. And it's great to see that, you know, regardless of the fact that, you know, a lot of states are in lockdown, you know, Chisholm can set the bar for bringing, you know, culture and community together in probably the space of education where we see, you know, it being grassroots and actually where esports should be growing from. It's great to see that Chisholm, you know, really sets the bar for these kinds of things. And, you know, regardless of state or wherever you are, you know, it can still maintain the momentum that has been for years prior to this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, you know, amidst adversity comes times to shine as well and to show off the sort of versatility that not only Chisholm, I think, but sort of esports culture as a whole can have in these trying times to be able to continue to not only hold this event, but be able to stream it to all of you watching, I think is something special.
Yeah, no, definitely. And look at education, right? When organizations, schools, institutions go into lockdown, it's so hard to maintain an element of culture and community. You know what I mean? But esports being the resilient community that it is, Max, you know, it's all about bringing everybody together regardless of where they are. It's all about enablement. You know, when we talk about Industry 4.0 and technology being the enabler, you know, Chisholm again is showing how this is done with the Invitational.
Yeah, and on that note as well, though, I do have to pass on a big thank you to Legion by Lenovo as well for the continued support that you do show, not just like a lot of high school events, like Legion by Lenovo has always been able to show that support, but in particular, what you've been able to help provide to Chisholm as well has been insurmountable and sort of enabling it to continue in the way that it has. So on that regards, a big thank you as well.
Oh, no, thanks so much, Max. And it's genuinely our pleasure when we see what input we has in terms of impact on the community, in terms of support. It just, you know, I'm genuinely overwhelmed and, yeah, really looking forward to the matchup tonight between the Cyber Sharks and the Glaciers. And, yeah, all eyes on this guy called KKKKKK.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Real quick, though, before we start to look at those pools, I have to ask, I'm not going to ask you to pick a winner, but is there any sort of particular champion that you want to see played in this game, knowledge-wise?
Oh, look, genuinely, I just want to see a healthy competition tonight, you know? If I had to back anyone purely just on name, it'd definitely be the Cyber Sharks, but the Glaciers are in with a chance as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think you might be right, though, on that prediction on the Cyber Sharks. Again, we'll get more into that in just a moment. One last time, I'd like to thank you for joining us.
Absolute pleasure, Max. Thanks, and good luck to both teams tonight.
All right, thank you. But yes, we do have two teams playing today. They're going to be in the Pool D. However, before we start to look at them, we're going to do a quick run through sort of where all of our teams are standing right now as we take a look at the pools and the placements, starting with Pool A. It was the Maroons as well as QIF at AO that were able to get victories in the first week. Unfortunately, teams like the Little Lakers and I'm going to pronounce this one wrong. I am sorry. MX Cully Fire, they fell a little bit short, although the Smurfs kind of sitting right there into the middle. They'll have a chance to play today. Over there on Pool B, the Lakers Legends currently sitting 1-0 next to the Echidnas, I believe, who are 1-0 as well. Alt F5 was the team we saw fall a little bit short. SEC Selfies as well weren't able to get their win. Then we move over to Pool C because there are so many teams, as well as Pool D in our next lot of standings. Free Jungle, STC Gold, and La Squadra were able to get their victories, where the Highlanders team won and Novelty Legends came up short. Well, they'll all have another chance today. And in Pool D, the pool that we're going to be watching today, it's been the Cybersharks, ICU at BBC, and TC Red that all got their victories, whilst the Scuttlebugs, STC Blue, and the SEC Glaciers, the other team we're going to be seeing today, all came up short. But that just means it's going to be a chance for revenge, perhaps, or I should say redemption, as it is going to be their first time playing against each other. The Glaciers, again, playing against the Cybersharks. And to help me sort of break this match down, I'm going to welcome once again back to the stream, Hedgie, my friend. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, pretty good. I'm not, a big fan of swimming, but I do like looking at these pools. It's very interesting to see how teams have gone through week one. But yeah, the Cybersharks coming in with a win into the Glaciers today. So a big game for them to try to maintain that win streak. I heard as well, I think it said earlier in stream as well, KKK getting getting 2 pentas.
2 pentas.
Man, I haven't got 2 pentas in in the 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's insane. Good on him.
There's a lot of interesting things about this sort of situation, though, because yes, KKK was able to get 2 pentakills, playing AD carry, playing Draven, which is actually off role for this player who is traditionally a jungler. And I believe we could take a further look actually at the lineup right now for the side of the TSS Cybersharks. It's going to be Goon Goblin in the top lane, Chutch Otter in the mid, Catlick in the bot lane, KKKK in jungle, and then Sir Fisher on support. And yes, the KKKK is coming into this event the highest ranked player in terms of solo queue, got the double pentakill on Draven in week 1, playing off role, now going to be sort of playing on role. The expectations are going to be high for a player who has actually already won a fair bit of league swag in this event for just the performance they were able to put on before. I kind of have to be a little bit nervous for the Glaciers, just because maybe it's a little bit jungle bias here, but when the jungler is the best player on the team, or could be potentially the best player on the team, that usually means that's coming with a heavy dose of tempo advantage as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's obviously really good to have a strong jungler, really big. And a lot of the main teams right now, if you look across the world stage as well, have their best player is in the jungle role. And I'm a bit sad of Sir Fisher, right? Because he doesn't actually have a photo here. So who is it? Is it Faker?
There
is
is
it
a
the
picture.
Weekend?
There is a picture.
I can't see it.
We didn't get to see the picture. They kept it hidden from us, but I cheated. I have the stream up on a second monitor, and there is a picture. It's not in the same dimensions, though. It's a little bit smaller than the other pictures, so must have been taken out later today. Either way, though, yeah, that team, they're looking sharp in their uniforms. They are ready to go, and they are ready to face down their opponents in the Glaciers, who might be coming in as a bit of an underdog, but that does not mean we count them out by any stretch. On that side, you have Motor Anemone in the top lane, Centrical in mid, Violent King in the bot lane, Mywuffin in the jungle, and Enby in the support lane. And when you sort of look at these teams, it's interesting to me, something that I actually like if we're going to continue sort of focusing on team play, I believe, coming into this one. But all of them have such high assist numbers. In particular, Centrical, an average of 15.9 assists is absolutely insane compared to that kill ratio. And it almost makes me wonder, is this a situation where we have a support player going off role in the mid?
Yeah, 16 or pretty much 16 assists, right? 15.9 a game. That is insane. I mean, he's probably just, playing J4 every game, just putting his flag down in every fight and getting 5 assists. I love to do that. But yeah, really high assist numbers across the board as well. You got the around 11 as well for the jungler. So a lot of high assist count, really good. I'm not sure, is that 38? I think it's 3.8 kills. But I thought that was 38 for a sec, and I was like, this man's popping off.
That would be, if you're averaging 38 kills and 15.9 assists per game, I would argue that you've just played one game, and it was probably, IRF back when that was enabled, and that's kind of played into your stats. But no, Centrical definitely is going to be a player to watch in this one. I also like how Mywuffin, the jungler, as well for the Glaciers, does have that high kill and a higher assist ratio. This looks like someone who's going to be looking to get involved, not just in solo plays, but team fights, trying to enable those labelers. I think we are going to have a true jungle duel on our hand, which is why when we do move into those picks and bans, which should be any moment, actually, I think as soon as we give that go ahead, which I'm kind of hinting at right now, let's see if we can get into this one. The jungle selection is going to be so key in this matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a jungler myself, obviously, when you have that high killer man, it's actually not that not that common to have like such a high kill amount on a jungler. Clearly playing for himself and playing to win the game. So yeah, it's a really, really good thing to see. And obviously adding on the assists as well is just really, really strong in terms of the KDA there.
As I believe we might have a little bit delay into getting to the match. I do apologize. I think the lobby may have actually imploded behind the scene. We're going to work to get into that one very, very soon. I didn't even notice that happened. But yeah, we are going to be getting into this matchup. Now, we've been talking predictions a fair bit. I kind of have made my opinion known. I do have to lead towards the favorites in this one. You can't drop, oh yes, this player got a double pentakill on me while playing off role and have me sort of bet against them in situations like this. But I'm going to ask the proper expert here. Who do you think is going to take this game?
Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to go off the cooler name, all right? Cyber Sharks. I mean, that's epic, man. Like, if I could name a team, Cyber Sharks would be right up there, you know, behind Echidnas. But, you know, that's a pretty cool name. But yeah, I think they'll have a really good chance. KKKKK, I have to keep saying that, right? Obviously having a strong performance, and you got to go with that. They're obviously 1 win up. Glaciers also taking a loss in the first week, but you never know. Like, they can always come back, and it's just one game as well. So obviously you're looking at a very, very small sample size. So coming into this game, you know, it's up for anyone. Anyone can win, and yeah, just going off the first week, it's not just, you know, down to that game. Obviously you can come in week 2 and have a strong performance and maybe put the Cyber Sharks down to 1-1.
Yeah, that would be an impressive turnaround for sure if we are able to sort of see that come together. Again, a little bit of apologies for the little delay before we get into this one. So let's talk about the meta while we have time to wait. Do you think we'll be seeing any drastic changes from the sort of team compositions that we saw last week?
Not too much. I still think it's focused around similar things. Obviously in pro play, you're seeing a lot of like actually quite simple champions coming up. So like your Dianas and Lucians are getting really early priority. Nocturne as well is one that you've seen a lot even coming in a first pick situation, and just champions that can kind of flex around from top, jungle, and mid, and have some strong early power. So we actually saw last week on the Echidnas, they did. I believe they had Kane into Xin Zhao as well on the side of Alt 4, and you can actually see those champions are quite good in what they can do in the early game, and particularly Xin Zhao. If you look at him as a champion, he has such good early prio, and that's a lot of what the jungle meta has been focused on around in the last month. These early prio junglers who are low econ, who are always going to be useful, who have CC and damage built into their kits, and can really do a lot of things like just soloing Drakes, you know, getting early leads. Diana's really good at this too. So hope to see maybe some of the priority on those champions, but you never know. Have to see the comfort picks coming as well. And I mean, even at the higher levels, even in pro play as well, you're watching the LCO here in EOCE, a lot of players do just go for their comfort picks. I mean, I think I saw a Zed last week in one of the matches. So you can 100% lean towards those comfort picks as well, particularly in situations where they can be really valuable. For example, obviously you just talked about the Zed. He can be really, really good into some certain team compositions and matchups. So yeah, hope to see some players just being at their best champions and yeah, bring their best performance tonight.
I have to agree. Do want to keep my eyes on that. I'm kind of curious to see what sort of comfort champions we do see played. I have had little hints thrown my way in the past, but I did promise not to say it on stream at risk that, you know, my bans might be played. So we'll wait, and then we can talk about it a bit later. But I do want to say some things that I've seen sort of in other regions as well start to be played and starting to make a resurgence. And I'm kind of curious on your opinion on this. Top Vayne, I've been seeing popping up more and more recently, to sort of, which is interesting to me because I kind of feel like the top lane at the moment has been actually a lot more dually, and we haven't seen many of those tanks, so the need for that tank buster hasn't been there. I'm kind of curious on your thought on this one. Is there a return from top Vayne happening, or was that just an anomaly I happened to come across?
Yeah, and you'd know this first class form, obviously, me being draft coach and everything. I love innovative picks. So like something like top Vayne, when they start pulling out that Ornn, when they start pulling out that tankier champion, even Tom, who's been coming up a lot, if you just pick that Vayne, or pick that even Lucian or Tristana and just get that free scaling lane, right? As an ADC, it's so powerful. And obviously they did. It's just so innovative as well. Obviously we saw a big rise in Tristana mid, particularly earlier on in the year and in a lot of the pro splits. But yeah, definitely just picks like that I just love, and particularly Vayne's one in solo queue when you pick like a Garen or something, and then you just see it locking in. They're like, oh, it's okay. I'll be able to blow that Vayne up later. You know, she's going to be in the AD position or whatever. And then they pick a Twitch, and you're like, oh no, what am I going to do?
I think it was actually taken in response to, now that I'm thinking back on it, to the threat of the Sejuani top pick. And it actually forced the Sejuani into the jungle, which played out well for the team because then they picked a more aggressive, faster jungler, and they were able to out-tempo through the jungle. So it was an interesting duel in that regard. It was also interesting to see the Sejuani actually be forced back into the jungle, where personally I believe Sejuani does belong. But it feels like out of all the lanes right now, the top lane has kind of become the most versatile at this stage.
Yeah, and you're seeing a lot of different archetypes of champions. I mean, every single week you're seeing a Jace, you're seeing Camille, you're seeing a Jax now even popping up a lot in response to the Camille. And a lot of the time, like in top lane, it's a lot about counter picks. And I drew it with a few top laners as well. They hate when they're like early pick in the draft, right? Because you just can't get that counter pick for yourself. And it's just such an important thing to have. So when you're seeing more and more champions rise to the meta then to try to counterpick other champions. So like, for example, obviously I just said, like Camille's coming into the meta a lot more. So then Jax does because he wants to counter Jax. And then people are going to think, well, what do we counter Jax with, right? Like maybe a tank or something. But what do we take into the Jax? So people are trying to, really kind of innovate. And we actually seem like finally got on the champs left. But yeah, obviously innovation's going to keep coming.
Yeah, that is going to be exciting to see. I'm so curious to see where June Goblin as well as Motor and Enemy do go with this, as first ban right away is going to be the Graves, followed by the Kindred. Going to go ahead and get rid of Action as well. Another jungle ban in the Hecarim. I'm noticing a trend here already. We highlighted the jungle matchup arguably going to be the most important in this one, and those junglers are just being picked off left, right, and center.
Yeah, and I mean, some of the best junglers in the game right now, in my opinion. I think Kindred is an absolutely just disgustingly broken champion. I think she's really strong. She has really good early dueling power. She's great at scaling. She's just an incredible champion. So seeing her is a bit yikes, but seeing her banned away is a bit good. So, but Aatrox taken first pick, so very prominent laner. Lots of healing. Going to be taken first. He's a cool champion by design as well. I love watching him in the game.
Yes, so fun to watch. Aatrox turn a fight around, but. If people thought perhaps we might have been for overblowing the threat of Kek a little bit before coming into this one, the fact that they ate 3 jungle bans might be saying, perhaps the red side, I should say, the side of the Glaciers may happen to agree with us. They're going to be taking that set, a bit of a flex pick, perhaps. Although, do you like the set into Aatrox matchup?
It's an interesting one. I guess it just depends on what stage of the game. Aatrox is pretty good in lane, set is as well. And then in terms of scaling, Set's pretty good at being a bit more of a frontliner, bringing a bit more utility, but Aatrox is pretty good in terms of if he's able to get a kill or two and get that reset. He's very like Viego, actually, who's just been picked up as well. Very dependent on the resets, because if they get them, they're going to be able to storm over the enemy. And Poppy as well going to be picked up. Poppy's actually already quite good here into the Viego. Oh, actually, no, Viego doesn't really have a dash. Very good into the Aatrox, sorry. But Viego and Ziggs coming in as a bit of a counter to the actual Poppy pick. So that's really good. I really like Ziggs as well. I think he's an incredibly strong champion in bot lane and mid lane. So he obviously has that flex potential. And now Lux coming through. So some really simple champions that have some good pick CC coming through on the side of the Glaciers.
Yeah, and this is always something that I like to see from teams that might be coming in that underdog situation, is playing those simpler champions, but playing them effectively, not trying to bite off more than you can necessarily chew. However, I want to go back to this Viego pick and sort of where the bans have been going up until this point, because I feel if we were to look at, the top end of League of Legends, the professional play, that top tier competitive meta, Viego is much more of a meta jungle pick right now than any of those 3 bans that we saw. So I find it interesting that we see the Glaciers sort of target the comfort bans as opposed to the competitive bans when playing against the Cyber Sharks. And I actually kind of agree with this for the most part, because there's a very strong chance that at this level, even when players are, higher ranked, you still want to get them off balance. You still don't want them comfortable. So I really like what the Glaciers have done with their bans thus far.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, as we talked about a bit earlier as well, comfort picks are just so important in what they can do to a player. And for example, me, I mean, with my champ pool, if you ban out my J4 and my Mumu, I'm stuffed. But if you ban out Viego and stuff, it's not going to be as good. So it just really depends on the player, and even at a higher level in terms of pro play and stuff. Like I think players like Hillisang, who have his Pike and has these really prominent champions, are banned away a lot of the time, not just because they're actually good in the meta or strong in the meta right now, which they aren't, but because he's so prominent on them and really good at accessing and using them. So it's definitely something that can speak of the devil. It's something that is very important. But Viego as well, very strong champion, definitely a carry champion. Obviously the possessions are a really interesting part of the game, so That is a really cool comp as well. I like the Pike coming in here. Bit of aggression from Sir Fisher.
I like it as well because it also kind of adds a bit more damage that you might be lacking with the Ashe AD carry or the Ashe bot lane pick, who is very single target but not necessarily that explosive. However, when you throw in that Pike, all of a sudden we're sort of looking at a long-range pick comp almost being put together by our blue side and the Cyber Sharks to compete against them. Something a lot more traditional. We're looking at a front to back with arguably two supports to protect that big DPS dealer in the Aphelios. So a little bit of a put all the eggs in that one basket. And even though we were talking about how that jungle matchup is going to be key, when I take a final look at these two compositions, it might turn into find the Violent King matchup because so much pressure is going to be on the Aphelios, both in terms for the Cybersox trying to catch him and for the Glaciers to try and protect him.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, Aphelios does a lot of damage right now. He's a very, very prominent champion in the meta. And yeah, with the Yuumi as well in tow, he's going to be really, really hard to get onto. And even if you have those kind of diving champions as well, like the Pike, Yumi's going to be able to do a really good job at peeling them. And Aphelios himself is a really long-range champion. He loves when champions come into him. He hates range, so he'll hate Ziggs here. Doesn't like playing into him, obviously, with the range. But yeah, Aphelios is definitely going to have a pretty decent time here. Not too much range outside the Ziggs. And with that Yuumi on top of him as well, going to be really hard to get onto him. But definitely, yeah, I guess a bit of a front-to-back comp with the Aphelios, the Yuumi in the set. But yeah, having that Poppy and that Lux there, they do provide a bit of pick potential as well. So that'll be interesting to look out for if they can grab a pick or two, maybe early before a fight, and then set up on an objective and try to take a big fight.
I think another aspect of this game, though, that we do need to take note of is actually going to be the early and mid-game laning phase as well, because at this level, sometimes that can be so determinant in sort of which team has the momentum. And when I'm looking down the board, I find it interesting because a lot of these matchups, I wouldn't say there's a clear advantage going either way. I mean, top lane can be a bit of a skill match in terms of, knowing your spacing, knowing when to trade effectively. Yeah. Both of these champions could give themselves the edge. Mid lane probably is going to be more of a farm fest. I don't really see Ziggs or Lux going too aggressive unless they have their jungle around. But then we go to the bot lane, and level 6, that pick potential coming from the Cyber Sharks right now is something that I feel that this bot lane from the Glaciers is going to have to be very cautious of.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Ashe and Pike, obviously a really good pick lane, a lot of that engaged. So yeah, they're going to be really looking to get that priority, catch out an enemy in the river or something and set up on an objective. And definitely, yeah, just can kind of just engage in the lane. They don't really need any setup or the junglers help. So they're going to be very dangerous there. I'm kind of looking at this Lux versus Ziggs matchup a bit, actually, just because Lux is the only AP on their team, really. So if she actually is managing to get a lead here, it's going to be really annoying to itemize on the side of the Cyber Sharks. As well as that, they don't really have many tanks. So if Lux does actually get ahead, she's going to do so much damage. And other than Ziggs, they're kind of hard pressed to actually get out of it just because they've got a lot of melee champions that had to engage. So if Lux does get a lead here, if Poppy they have a pretty good 2v2 combo if they're able to get maybe a root down by the Lux and then obviously leading into the Poppy, there could be a really, really dangerous 2v2 combo. And if they're able to get some damage on this Lux, it could be really, really, really good for the Glaciers here.
Yeah, I think there are going to be the potential for these big plays for sure as we're getting ever closer to kicking this match off. Again, this is only week 2 of what is essentially a 5-week season, followed by a cutoff with the top 8 teams going to that playoff stage. So every win right now is important, especially if you're in one of the groups of 6, and you might already find yourself a win down. The Glaciers have a lot to prove in this matchup, but they're going up against arguably one of the best teams in the entire tournament in the Cyber Sharks. It's going to be an exciting matchup. It's going to be one you don't want to miss. Unfortunately, we're going to have to throw it to a quick break, but when we come back, it's going to be straight to the action here at the Chisholm Invitational. We are live once again on to Summoner's Rift. Once more on the blue side, it is the Cyber Sharks. In red, it is the Glaciers, and the Cyber Sharks, they're hungry for a bit of action, moving as that pack of 5 straight into the river. Are you at all surprised about this invade? I'm not. They have a pike, and they might have Centrical as well, who steps forward. The hook is not going to connect.
No, not going to be able to land that one there. Oh, no, that's actually the enemy ward. To be able to spot that one out, as well, but they're going around. They're trying to do it, but 2 good defensive wards are going to be set up, so they will know about any potential invade that they may do. Just going to pop that ward down, probably now recall, like styling on them there, but with the hook not actually throwing it out in the end as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was a valiant effort, and it's one that not too surprised to see sort of implemented right now again. You have the team with the pike, you have the aggressor there, and it didn't look like the Glaciers were really able to get much deep vision in response. In fact, all of their wards were kind of placed more defensively at this stage in case of a possibility of an invade, which I'm not sure we're really going to be seeing from Viego, not that early. So good job by the Cyber Sharks, I feel, in order to cause the Glaciers to kind of waste some of their resources.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, with that level 1 advantage, having a few of those CC abilities, good auto attackers at level 1, it's pretty good. But,
I realize a mistake has been made.
What is it?
NB may have forgotten to purchase some items.
Well, he's Yumi, so it shouldn't be too important, right?
I mean, if there's any champion to forget to buy items on, that is probably the only one I feel like you can get away with.
Yeah. I mean, it's not too bad. He's just going to sit on the Aphelios, you know, he's just going to have a good time.
Yeah.
He's got the skin, you know, even just chilling, man. He's having a good time.
Yeah, that's I'm just going to keep on casting as if things have gone back to normal just for when we do jump in, because Goon Goblin as well as Motor and Enemy kind of going back and forth with each other right now. A relatively heavy trade that did go in favor, I want to say, of Motor and Enemy. Now, Hedgie, kind of looking at the situation right now, any big surprises that we're seeing? As an invade.
Yeah.
Joplin in a bit of trouble. Well, we did see the early Viego invade. It will result in a buff being stolen. It doesn't look like Centrical and Miofwin are going to be doing anything and able to stop them.
Yeah, I'm just trying to take a think about the top lane matchup, right? Because it's quite interesting. Both champions do have a bit of oh my lord!
The flash engage coming from Motor and Enemy almost catches Goon Goblin off balance. It's going to be a flash for flash. Very well played by the set, and I find it interesting the amount of lane pressure we are getting out of the set into the Aatrox matchup. As KKKK actually is going to arrive on the scene and just try to give this Aatrox a little bit of help. Goon Goblin's not going to help him go for the kill, but KKK is still going to be able to force Mortar and Enemy back underneath the tower.
Yeah, he was on a ward, so Seth did know he was in that push. Walking up, so...
Oh no. I'm not sure what Motor and Enemy was trying to do right there. He's going to pull him on that tower and get first blood. And KKK falls victim to a bit of fishing right there. Motor and Enemy laid the bait and collected. Now it's looking to get Goon Goblin as well. The Haymaker gave him a shield, but it's immediately gone. And these champions are each so low, but Motor and Enemy with that double buff might have Goon Goblin on the back foot.
Yeah, he's obviously going to go up with that, but Set's so powerful in these short trades where Aatrox isn't really. So Aatrox across the fight will be good, you know, in those extended trades, but when Set's able to just E, Q, Q, W, and then walk away, he's so much more favored in these fights. Got the E available, he's just going to be able to dash away from that one is the Aatrox, but very, very dangerous things here in the top lane is finds a really, really good kill, gets those double buffs, and now has a major advantage over this Aatrox.
Yeah, that is going to be a scary situation moving forward for sure. I mean, both these top laners still need to reset. Teleports are available. And what better time to do it than when your wave is crashing than to TP back, get some items, and try to continue to push those advantages. Meanwhile, KKK not dissuaded from that early death, has already looked to invade once again, and Myufwin has forced the flash underneath the wall. KKK might be able to chase up. However, you do have a mid laner in Chutchotter not able to get down the river in time, so Myufwin actually able to escape, and I'm a bit surprised that Chutchotter actually didn't go straight through the river right there, took a more conservative route, and that may have cost them the kill.
Yeah, it was pretty scary there for that Poppy. I think probably flashed the wrong way as well, probably could have flashed towards the tower actually, instead just to be a bit more safe towards the bot lane, but ended up getting away anyway, had the Scuttle Crab as well to get rid of that movement speed, but has done well to reestablish a farm, not lead, but is lead for Viego in that department, so doing a good job to actually, although getting heaps of pressure put on it, doing a really, really good job to stay even and stay in the game, and just kind of let us control this top lane and continue to control each other with that W, doing so much damage to Cedrox.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because despite sort of the top lane right now going quite heavily in favor of of the Glaciers, I should say, not Arctic. Yeah. Arctic Glaciers. I've been watching some Marble Olympics and it's stuck in my head. But no, because of the sort of advantages that we're seeing from the Glaciers in the top lane, you would think they would have that gold lead, but actually what's been happening down in the bot lane has been very, very good for the Cyber Sharks right now. Cat LC currently sitting at about a 400-500 gold lead, which happens to be the gold differential in this game right now in favor of this blue side. And this could become problematic as level 6 Showstopper. Blue Goblin's in a lot of trouble. One more auto could take him down, but is able to sneak away. KKK arrives to the scene, looking to go after Motor and Enemy, but needs to be quick on this one because Myufwin is here as well. Safety in the river perhaps, and Shutouter's going to try to provide support in the satchel charge. It's too little too late. Myufwin able to get the second kill of the game in favor for the Glaciers.
Really well played again. Gets the Aatrox low, doesn't overchase or try to commit the kill, walks away, and Viego again, just a bit of an overextend from KKK. Just going a bit too deep there, not thinking about the Poppy, who he didn't know was there as well. So just a bit of a blunder there, and ends up being a good kill for Glaciers, who are controlling this top side really, really well. Set playing really, really well to get lane advantages, force the Viego top side to try to match and try to persuade him away from these solo kills, and then ending up creating advantages through outplays onto this Viego. So doing a really good job there, and the yellow lane just plumbing up, just playing pretty safe, and they're actually running this comp really, really well. Probably have the scaling advantage with that Aphelios and Umi, so if they can just survive this early game, if they can just get through it at a decent pace, should actually be able to have a really, really good chance of taking this one out.
That said, though, it has to be worth noting that the one lane that isn't going really, really well for the Glaciers has been that bot lane. They haven't really been able to get that advantage just yet. I mean, the first reset did go to Cat LC, was able to pick up that quiver, and only just now are we seeing Violent King able to recall, go back. Please buy the items. Please buy the items, Envy. Envy, this is taking a nervously long time to see what items the Yumi's going to field. Okay, you know what? We'll come back to that in a bit, perhaps, because it does look like the first dragon is being taken. And there we go! Alright, items are being purchased right now. Just had to wait for that extra bit of gold for the Spell Thief's Edge. Dragon, though, is going to be secured by the Cyber Sharks.
He has no gold because he doesn't have this.
True. I mean, yeah, the Spell Thief's Edge, you need it for that income, so... Actually, if we want to be a little bit nitpicky, that gold differential we see right now could have come from Envy not buying an item, as we watch Goon Goblin drop the World's End, looking for a bit of revenge against Motor and Enemy. A flash showstopper under tower, though. Motor still has the Haymaker, but doesn't get to use it as Goon Goblin gets the kill.
It's a really good play to try to find some sort of outplay by Motor and Enemy, but Aatrox there actually stopping the show himself with a beautiful, beautiful ultimate. And just to actually get multiple Qs off on that set and actually out-trade him. And you can see in those extended trades where Set continues to fight him past, that 2 or 3 second barrier where he can get a few autos and get that W win. He actually gets out-sustained and can lose these trades against the Aatrox. Now Poppy running on Diego into the jungle. Can he actually take the Herald instead?
Centrical's here as well, though does not hit with the Luminous Binding, but the Super Inferno Bomb does connect. That's going to help bring the upwind down. Now Sentinel nowhere to go. Satchel Charge throwing back up that river, but KKK will finally follow it up with a flash, gets that double kill. And that's a nice turnaround for the Cyber Shark. They'll be able to get the Rift Herald as a prize. And perhaps we're starting to see the turnaround in this game, as what was once a pretty even game has now turned into a 2K advantage for the blue side.
Yeah, so they already got their Ocean Drake and getting the Herald as well. You can see KKK showing that it's not just about kills, it's not just about the CS, it's actually also about getting these objectives, and he's done an excellent job to control those outside of getting a few of those early deaths, and just to pull back 2 kills alongside that. But in the bot lane,
oh, there we go. The kill is going to be secured with that last auto from Cat LC. Violent King does fall. Meanwhile, up top, Goon Goblin as well, looking to continue these trades against Motor and Enemy. Neither ultimate available on that top side, but in the jungle, well, we do have some ultimates perhaps at play. Does the Keeper's Verdict need to be dropped? Not this time, as Moyapun escapes, but no escape up top as Goon Goblin finds yet another solo play.
what a fantastic turnaround by Goon Goblin as well. Not to get tilted, not to get angry, and just to continue to persevere and win this lane now. He has 2 plates. It's a sustainable gold lead in the CS department as well. And he's doing really, really well to outtrade, defeat this set on multiple occasions now. After having such a bad start in the lane, managing to turn it around. And yeah, again, you can see that point again of the set, just not really being able to go for those short and quick trades and walk away, continuing to take those long trades, and Aatrox is punishing him every single time for it and doing a really good job to capitalize.
Oh my goodness.
Well.
Okay, everything about that play, Chuch Otter did so well in understanding the spacing and sort of the predicted movements actually out of Centrical. The use of the Satchel Charge to prevent the escape underneath the tower and sort of forcing Centrical into sort of the river and into the jungle where it's so tight and narrow and you know exactly where they're going to be is what enabled that Super Mega Inferno Bomb to connect. Just really well played and a really solid understanding of the champion, as we might not be done the upwind. In a bit of trouble right here. Kick. Going to try and go after this Poppy, who will be able to escape.
Yeah, hit the minion instead there, but gets the Rift Herald charge down that second tier 2 turret and establishing a big gold lead for it. Doing a really good job to get that pressure down. Obviously saw his Ziggs getting that solo kill and decided to place the Rift Herald down. Nice advantage in that mid lane as well. Now, again,
this isn't a very good trade for Motor and Enemy, unfortunately, who's now stuck on the wrong side of the lane. Goon Goblin just doing so much work. One lost auto will secure the kill. Great positioning coming from the Aatrox, and 3-0-0 right now. We were expecting this to perhaps be the jungle show, but instead, kick. Kind of being outshined a little bit by Goon Goblin, who has gotten not 1, not 2, but 3 solo plays in a row.
Yeah, it's good for him to know he can kind of rely on his teammates in these situations who are doing a fantastic job to get their lanes ahead and get some advantages on their own, not just with the jungle help. Doing an excellent job at that, but now Poppy potentially looking over the wall. Could we find a gank onto the flashless Ashe here, but not going to be able to get past there with some good zoning tools. But now Poppy's going through.
This could be very bad. You still have the Keeper's Verdict, and it's going to be used defensively. Still, Sir Fisher is on the hunt, and that will be Chuch Otter securing yet another kill. Top Brick will fall as well. That's the second of the game to go in favor of the Cyber Sharks, who admittedly, at the 6-7 minute mark, I was thinking, perhaps that upset could be in the cards. Well, since then, an 8K gold turnaround right now, as this blue side is really starting to pull away in terms of momentum.
Yeah, and even when they got it just a bit behind with perseverance, obviously, and as well as just KK doing really good to play around his objectives, play around his strengths, get into the jungle still and invade this Poppy and put pressure on her. Even though he wasn't actually getting any kills and had a few deaths, still doing some really good things in that jungle, besides having those early deaths. So doing a really good job there, and just the lanes overall having really good time. Obviously playing really well and persevering even with that deficit in the top lane. Aatrox in our bot lane.
Yeah, Moonlight Sigil was dropped on the Chuch Otter, but it's not going to accomplish too much. They actually do trade 1-for-1, and they find a second thanks to a beautiful final chapter in order to get that root underneath the tower. That said, Just is still looking for this fight. It's KKK tries to re-engage. tank he a little bit too much. Poppy just has just enough defense to be able to survive. Tower, though, still under threat, may actually go down, and does, thanks to, well, Chudge Otter and KKKKKKKK.
I think that's just that Diego thing where, you know, it's not even really good to possess the Yumi there, but just takes it because it's fun, you know? Like,
you gotta do it, right? You just, I feel like, I don't have much play experience on Diego, I will admit, but I just feel like whenever you see the opportunity to take it, you just take the soul. You just always go for it. And speaking of always go for it, KKKKKKK is going straight after Gromp. I thought we were going to see a play on the Bobby, but instead we're going to see a play on Centrical. Instead, it was immediately jumped upon and so much damage, follow-up flash as well. And the reason why he didn't go for the offlane, well, that's because the Goon Goblin was already there. 2 more kills for the Cybersharks as they continue to add to their lead.
yeah, just starting to dominate across the map, getting a few of these extra kills after they destroy the turret as well. Doing a really, really good job there. Set does get to push the top lane for free though. He will get a few of those autos down. Takes turrets ridiculously fast, so you'll see that turret taking power. He'll have as he walks up to his turret. There's no real person to defend right now, but they are pushing mid lane as well, so trying to get that tier 2 down. I've got those first 3 outers and are moving on to the second tier 2 turret, trying to get the pressure, trying to apply the damage onto them right now.
That's a flash stolen away from Violent King, just not wanting to be held in place. That's a very key ability no longer available. It's Touch Otter and Motor and Enemy, a matchup we haven't seen yet in this game, are going to go at it. Motor and Enemy drops a lot of damage, is able to dodge that Mega Inferno Bomb. Meanwhile, the Luminous fighting into the Battle Spark, jumping connected to the upward, the Goon Goblin out of the way, and here comes that World Ender Life Steal, staying alive just long enough to pick up a bit of revenge. Bufwin goes down, so too did Motor and Enemy and that top lane.
Yeah, they're going to at least get that shutdown down off that Aatrox, so that is a big win for them. Set is going to go down the top lane, but actually the gold they get from the Aatrox shutdown is actually kind of worth across the map, so they're going to get more gold for getting that 1 kill and getting the shutdown. So actually not too bad there. Besides Glaciers, a bit of a positive sign. Ziggs is shoving this top lane in. They are starting to breach these tier 2 turrets and forcing them pressure. Glaciers to defend them as they have Helios walking up to try to persuade them off, but Diego and Ziggs just providing so much damage on the turret. They're so strong right now.
Yeah, and oh no. That's a bit unfortunate right there for NB. The final chapter used in reverse, perhaps expecting a dive that just did not come. Last think going to be taken away, but the hook does connect on the Motor and Enemy, and the damage might be able to fall. No, Motor and Enemy says, I'm going in deep regardless of that. Hope it's no way to finally keep who falls, and that is the damage no longer available. Final Spark actually cuts straight through the side of the Cyber Sharks, but those health bars are still there, and Goblins coming on the flank. Centrical is going to be that target as Cat LC looks to find Bufwin. A lot of damage from that Mega Inferno Bomb means Goon Goblins will be able to clean up, and now stuck under the tower. Bufwin nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. So the Cyber Sharks circle their play and collapse. They smell that blood, and they are on the hunt. Wave crashes into the tower, and here we go. Goon Goblin leads the charge with the World Ender. Takes that tower aggro. The team cleans up another kill, and Envy is left stranded all alone. It's an unofficial ace, as that top tower should be the reward.
Yeah, until the last 2 members died, I was actually going to say it's kind of worth it again. They got another shutdown on that Diego. There's multiple kills coming in. They're going to be able to pick up the tier 2 turret as well inside of the Cyber Sharks, and will convert that play. Just playing really aggressive, friendly advantages, and doing a really good job. It's been seeing that ulti from Envy, man. I just want to give the guy a hug, you know? He's just not having his best game here.
Yeah, it's been a game that really tests your resiliency. It's going to be the way that I want to put it right now. Envy, you know, probably coming into this game, perhaps not as experienced as some of the other players on the Rift right now. And they're struggling a bit, but this is where the team needs to rally. They need to pick themselves up, and they can still sort of fight back in this one. Do I think they're going to win? To be quite brutally honest, at this stage, when you are 13k down before the 20-minute mark, it's usually tough to come back from these types of situations. However, that doesn't mean you can let your decision-making fall to the wayside. So I still want to see sort of smart choices come from this Glaciers, like the Glaciers side. I still think it's available. Like, take this right now. Violent King is aware, hey, I don't want to push too deep. It's forcing KKK forward, and perhaps they can collapse, perhaps they can turn around and take the jungler down. Yes, they can, and that is the smart decision-making I still want to see. The Ignite, unfortunately, will still find Violent King, and Touchhounder might actually be going down as well. Mifflin is able to get the flank, but Sir Fisher is here to try to provide support. Too little, too late. It's another one-for-one trade as Cat LC starts poking at Motor and Enemy, and Motor and Enemy's thinking, okay, I'll show stop right here and bring the blue buff along towards our little play. Cat LC doesn't have the damage to deal with the set. And these little fights, these little skirmishes are starting to go in the way of the Glaciers.
Yeah, they are going to need to recall as well to deal with this Aatrox who's trying to end the world on this top side, hitting that inhibitor turret actually. Going to start whacking on that with a pretty big minion wave as well, but Aphelios here to defend it. So I'm going to be able to stop that push. I'm going to be able to pick up a few kills on the back end as well. So really, really good job there from the Glaciers to get some of these advantages. Can they actually pick up the dragon on the back of it? Probably going to be a no, as Viego is coming close to it as well. Even has the luxury of picking up his red buff, but they might potentially want to fight for us as Poppy is starting to walk down. Might actually just try to take it. Yeah, might.
This would be a very interesting fight right now because Violent King is still in the fountain and would not be there. And so much of the damage no longer available. Sir Fisher kind of acting a massive Mega Inferno Ball right in the middle of the Glaciers. Opens up the doorway for 8Ks to follow through. And now on the retreat is Myufwin. Won't be able to go too far with it. That Infernal Dragon will be picked up. And with a 23-9 scoreline, with the third dragon going their way, I kind of feel it's only a matter of time before we see these Cyber Sharks look to break open the base.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty unlucky. If they had found a pick on Pyke or potentially Aatrox as well, he was a bit caught out there in terms of his positioning, they might have actually been able to take a fight and take a dragon, but not able to do so in the end. They just had too many members there in terms of the Cyber Sharks being put aside. Very quickly get a few kills. Now they turn to Baron, they can start this one. They're reasonably fast as well. What an 18 damage between Diego and Ash the first pretty quickly. This is pretty much gone. Small Poppy never able to hit atmosphere.
Yep.
Yeah, pick this one up.
That is a great little pickup for the blue side. Cyber Sharks now are in position to perhaps look for that game-ending fight at this stage. Again, a 15k gold lead right now. A majority of that coming through, I would say, the mid lane. Having a quick look, yeah, it's a 4k differential right now between Chuch Ardor and Centrical, and that's where the majority of it lies. However, if we want to pick out the player with the most gold in the game, it still is Kek, who is just continuing to sort of snowball this advantage, snowball this lead, and I believe at this stage they could be looking for that big final fight.
Yeah, I mean, he does have a huge farm lead over the Poppy, so doing a really good job in that respect. Has a 3-level lead as well. We don't actually talk about XP levels that much a lot of the time, but they're so important. Those base levels provide a lot of those base stats that champions have, obviously. So when you have those, you have more of those, you actually just get to kind of override a lot of the item advantages that some champions have. So, for example, this Viego is going to be tanky, going to be stronger with a positive base level advantage has over the Poppy, not just the gold lead and that sort of stuff. So it's actually something that's talked about heaps and heaps in terms of the pro play scene, I guess. But yeah, there's definitely a massive advantage there in those base levels and that gold as well for the Viego.
Yeah, we have been seeing that as we start to look what could be the beginning of the end. Motor and Enemy nearly caught out as we see leaving the scene is going to be Sir Fisher. Eventually, though, the mid-nexus turrets do get exposed as inhibitor should fall. Violent King jumped upon by who wanted to get that 8k and is now going to get it against the upper. I would have to think now the counter shields it away. That's okay. The inhibitor will fall. The base has been opened up and the jungler has been taken out of commission for the next 30 seconds. Motor and Enemy in a lot of trouble. Where was that individual arrow going? I don't think it's going to matter too much, although Motor and Enemy is able to find 8k. Is not able to find too much at the end of it all. That's the second tower falling as the second inhibitor lays exposed. Centrical against the world grabs. Violent King there to provide some support as well as Envy, but they're stuck under those Nexus towers as those Baron and Power minions start to crash.
Poking down these turrets now, just trying to clear out these waves and get Nexus turrets down. Looking like this could be the potential end. Cyber Sharks, if they are backing away, they could just play the safe route and actually go to the top lane and take that third inhibitor at a massive advantage for themselves, having double super minions on all sides, but they're going to be even safer, and I like to just recall it up. Probably going to try to push that top lane now to try to get an ending push, but yeah, doing a good job to actually back off here. A lot of teams would have tried to force the issue there, maybe lost a lot of shutdowns if they died, but he managed to do the smart thing there and actually reset and just play it out safe, which is really, really good to see.
Yeah, I have to agree with this sort of approach right now. Too many times I think we've seen teams overextend. I mean, or even earlier in this game, you could argue we saw the Cyber Sharks overextend, and it's why I want to throw some credit back over to the Glaciers, who actually found themselves in a position to capitalize on that. It's when we kind of saw them fight back a bit. Granted, those were sort of ideal pick situations, which you have to make when you're down by that amount. You can't really ask for much more than that, except for your opponents to keep making those kinds of mistakes. But just through that simple recall, I feel like the Cyber Sharks are not going to be making that mistake again. They're getting themselves poised already in the base of the Glaciers, and they could be looking for that final fight. Motor and enemy tries to step forward, but you don't want to pull the trigger until your entire team is ready, and Sentinel's still quite far back. Motor and enemy goes in. They'll find the stun, they'll find the pick, and Justin went with them. Another kill secured by Sir Fisher, as it looks like the beginning of the end. The Mega Inferno Bomb trying to close up all the hopes and chances and dreams that the Glaciers may have had. It's an ace, it's the game, and the Cyber Sharks gets a victory.
You're going to be able to finish this one off pretty cleanly. A triple kill for Shugler. Yeah. Has a really good KDA as well. I'm actually going to line him with my MVP. He had a really good 6 as well, which is something pretty impressive as well. Obviously, a burst champion and not very, very oppressive in lane, so doing a really, really good job there to actually be able to zone advantage and yeah, having a really, really good KDA and just playing really well in that mid lane.
I mean, I wanted to go Goon Goblin for the MVP, but when you look at the raw stats that Chuchotter was actually able to bring out and just how involved they were in every single fight, least deaths, most kills, most assists, it's kind of hard to argue against that. And I do go back to that play in the mid lane where we saw the control and the understanding of the character and the understanding of how to manipulate both the wave and his opponent at the same time. Chuchotter, 100%, I do agree, deserves the MVP for this performance in this matchup. But the Cyber Sharks, I mean, overall, if we take a step back, 25 minutes exactly it took for them to win this game and win it in such a dramatic fashion. There's a reason why these guys might be sort of the favorites of this entire tournament, and they displayed that in spades today.
Yeah, 100%, and to have the resilience to actually get behind quite a lot in the top lane early, was having a few kills there, and to particularly in Goon Goblin to actually come back and get a few solo kills of his own and really bring that advantage was really, really fantastic. He played really well, and even KKKK. Obviously doing a really good job as well. Had a lot of invades that didn't really work early game. Obviously had a few pretty bad deaths to the set, but managed to come back, managed to control objectives, and managed to do a really good job to kind of just control the pace of the game and get a lot for himself. So yeah, to have that resilience is a really big thing. You see that from a lot of players, even at the highest levels, that once they get behind a bit, you can name a lot of teams really, particularly in the pro scene, that once they get behind that bit, once they get down, they just start playing worse and worse and worse, and the advantage builds up and up and up. So to actually have that resilience to come back and get an advantage of their own after falling down was a really good thing to see.
I kind of find it funny. Like, this is an aside. This isn't really in-depth hardcore analysis. 8 kills for the 8 Ks. I kind of think that lined up quite nicely. When I do look, though, at the Glaciers, because I do want to talk a little bit more about this team and sort of the things I like from them, again, I want to highlight when they were able to find those picks when behind, capitalizing on the overextension, because it wasn't like necessarily, too much of we're benefiting from the misstep, but they recognized it and they actually got proactive in that moment. They were calling teammates down. They were quicker to the punch. So we did see moments of brilliance in that regard in the mid-late game. And if we go back even to the early game as well, they were still finding ways to even have a small lead at one stage by just sort of finding those key moments and being able to recognize situations and get the better of a few of these trades. It's just a bit unfortunate that those level 6 power spikes, which we did kind of hint at were going to be scary, they proved to be a bit too much, I feel, for the Glaciers to handle in this situation. But it's a learning experience. Perhaps next time they'll be able to sort of recognize their opponent's power spikes a little bit cleaner in the future. Yeah,
definitely. So it had some really, really good moments. And yeah, I mean, you talk about the Viego has a really, really good ultimate as well, just for dueling power. So some of those trades that they're taking on, maybe some of those 2v2s or just picks they're looking for, become a bit harder when the Aatrox as well gets his ultimate, gets a lot more tankier, gets that healing. It's just worse in those extended trades as well. And then Viego, of course, getting that ultimate, being able to do so much damage in the 1v1. And of course, Ziggs and Ashe and Pyke all having pretty solid ultimates themselves as well. So once it did hit that level 6, for these champions. Once they were able to capture a few of those objectives, it did just get harder and harder for the Glaciers. But definitely had some signs of life. Definitely weren't. Just getting smashed. They were doing a lot of work, particularly in that early game. So definitely some signs of life and some really good positive signs to them. So hopefully they take those away and try to improve on the next few games.
Yeah, I'm going to be excited to see where the Glaciers go from here. But where we're going from here, well, eventually we're going to be going to Torrance University. So a big thank you to some of those, I want to say supporters of this event. Torrance University, just mentioned, will be hosting our grand final once we get to the grand final after a few more weeks of this regular season play and, of course, our playoffs. A thank you as well to the Summoner Society for being our community sponsor for this event. They will be providing artwork for the top 4 teams in this series. And, of course, a thank you to Legion by Lenovo as well for continuing to support this event. Again, Goon Goblin, congratulations. Or sorry, I should say Chutch Otter, congratulations for being the MVP. Goon Goblin, congratulations for getting the 619, my old area code, as your score line. Thank you to both the teams who participated. A thank you once again to Hedgie for joining me on the cast. And until next week, everybody, be looking forward to seeing you all out there on the Rift.
Legion by Lenovo.